I've started the recording. This is the April 26th Jupyter dev meeting. Fernando, would you like to go first?
Since we're kind of switching to a mode of kind of main issues and questions, I'm wondering if anyone has any. I've been gone for the last 2 weeks. I've been at several conferences, so I'm more catching up with people. So who has stuff that they'd like to discuss? That is not for us to read.
Just a little thing that we did a bunch of releases last week, 4.2 of Notebook and I think also 4.2 of IPython, and we found a couple little things with the Notebook release. So I think we want to do like a 4.2.1 the next week or so.
Okay.
So that has PR fixing a thing with to do with older versions of widgets. So finding little things in the 4.2 release that should be fixed in kind of a first round bug fix would be good in the next few days or week.
Okay.
So I can give an update. I've been working with Carol on the documentation. So I'm just learning how to, approve or merge some of her pull requests. So we'll continue to work together over the next few weeks to update the documentation and work on formatting and content with Fernando and Brian. So certainly if anyone has anything they'd like to contribute, send it our way and we can wrap it into what we're putting together.
Have we decided format for documentation? Are we doing Markdown or REST or notebooks, or like how did that discussion end up?
That's a good question. It looks like right now we're still using the read the docs format, but I don't think that's the end of the game. I think we're just the beginning. We're really just working on content right now, and then once that's in good shape, we can kind of turn it into whatever form we want to ultimately use it in.
But just to add to that, Jason, I think we have a huge amount of REST still in our sources, and so I don't think a Sphinx toolchain is going away anytime soon. But I do know that Sylvan, for example, and John did most of the docs for the recent IP widgets release was in notebook format. I'm not sure that the notebook is the most convenient way to edit more API-ish docs or docs that are purely that really don't have code. That might be more comfortable just in a text editor editing a markdown file or a REST file. But I have the impression that if you use Sphinx as an endpoint, that the integration of Markdown REST and notebooks as kind of source streams that all get merged in the final output is starting to work reasonably well, or am I mistaken in that? I mean, my impression was that Sphinx could now consume a mix of all three source formats. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we're working reasonably well with. I don't know if we have all three in one project, but we definitely, across all our repos, we definitely have some. Everything is Sphinx, but some pages are Markdown, some are REST, and some are Notebook.
IPyWidgets has both Markdown and notebooks. One thing we must be careful when we write notebooks for documentation is that the headers, in Markdown in the notebook, correspond to what you want to see as headers globally in the final documentation, because this is what is going to be used to make the tree. So if you make a top-level title, it's going to be a top-level item in the documentation, which is, I'm not sure if it's the best thing or not. But.
Okay, that's an. Often you think of notebooks as standalone documents, but in this case, they're being assembled into a larger tree.
Exactly. So if you put a top level item in a notebook, it becomes a top level item in that tree, which it can be confusing because if you think as a notebook as a local thing, you would think of it as a subtree and it's not.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I wonder if there's a way to modify the Markdown processor to basically bump up every heading level by 1 or something like that when they're being consumed as documentation, so that there's an enclosing tree that where these things are being appended as nodes. Okay, we can look into that. Do we really? I guess one question, I haven't really been in the sources of the docs for that long for a long time. Are we really using significant amounts of the restructured text things that Markdown can't do, like extensible roles and whatnot? Because if most of our
honestly, so most new docs are being made as Markdown files, unless they're example type things that are notebooks.
Okay.
So the main things that are REST are things like generated API docs, or files that have been around a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, the IPython docs still have quite a lot of the extensions in them for things like cross-referencing GitHub issues and things like that.
Okay. And are those things done with extensions?
Yes.
I mean, it's just shorthand for a URL, but in that particular case. But yeah, we have a custom role defined in the IPython docs for
with
expanding
a custom role.
GH issue to a GitHub URL.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's a question of how much, if eventually we'd like to standardize on a single source format for most of the docs, but we don't have to make that transition all at once.
So I think our 5 minutes for this topic is up. Oh.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, what does anyone else have?
I just had a quick question. Are there any big conferences that people are going to coming up?
I'm going to PyData London.
Me too.
PyData London, LPub, probably EuroSciPy. I'm considering going to EuroPython, which Mike Bright is presenting some Jupyter things at, and has asked if someone can go and support him, and possibly PyCon UK, but that's quite a bit later in the year.
One thing Anna talked about was creating a centralized events calendar for the dev team. So creating a way for us to keep track of who's going to which conferences. So maybe we could try it out, and you guys could send her a list of the conferences that you're planning to attend, so she can start adding those to the calendar.
Min and I have already been coordinating a bit on a spreadsheet for the Europe conferences. So yeah, I'd be happy to send that to Anna.
Yeah, if that's something that you could just share with her, that she could check regularly and update her calendar, I think she'd really appreciate that.
We can probably do a Google Calendar or something that we all have right access to, I would think.
Right. She was thinking about putting it in the projectjupyter@gmail.com calendar. Does that seem like the right place?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, great.
Or I'm happy even just having it as a wiki file somewhere that we can just edit and put arbitrary information in. I also had another question. Thomas, you mentioned the paper again. Did you want to say anything about the paper?
Yeah, it's still going. I think we're most of the way to a draft. I've asked several people who I know have particular associations with particular parts of the project to write a little paragraph about the three things that I wanted to fill in were the collaboration stuff, widgets, and NB Grader and Jupyter in Education, and I've pinged the relevant people by email to fill that in. So hopefully in a few days there'll be a draft that we can look over and start improving.
Is there a deadline for the paper that we're shooting for?
No, there isn't. Possibly we should set one, but there isn't. No.
That's the problem. Okay. Okay, thanks.
We're trying to schedule a meeting that somebody here might be interested in. So I just want to let you know, and if that's the case, just ping Jamie and I. There are folks in Canada who are interested in deploying Jupyter Hub on a relatively large scale for research. And so just let us know if you'd like to participate in that discussion, kind of a larger scale Jupyter Hub deployments. Min, Jamie, and I will be in that. Not everybody needs to, but if anybody wants to, just let us know. Do we have anything else that people want to discuss sort of project-wide with everyone? Okay, then we can keep these things short and sweet and not burn up Jamie?
I do. So Fernando and I will be going over the roadmap today. So I just want to make sure everybody's wrapped in the conversations we had, mostly you guys had during the week-long dev meeting here in Berkeley. You've wrapped that into the roadmap repo on GitHub, because that's what we'll be using to kind of to drive our conversation and the scheduling and planning. So that will be happening this week.
And I think everyone, most of you folks have responded to the quick little team survey. So we'll be using that to try to make kind of topics and groups and organize that over the next couple of days. Okay, well, this was very, very quick, and that means that people can actually get back to work. And we have the notes on the hackpad.
Okay, I'll stop the recording. Thanks.
All right.